Alright, so if you're facing any issues in React while manipulating child components using refs while being inside the parent component, then I think you should use the useImperativeHandle hook in React. So this hook is used to customize or expose certain methods or properties of a child component to its parent component. This is particularly helpful when you want to provide a more controlled way for the parent components to interact with the specific functionality of a child component. Well, let's just code and understand more about this hook. So, as you can see here, this is the example that we are using to understand this useImperativeHandle hook. And this is the regular input element, basically just HTML. And this is how it looks like. And if we click on this focus button, we can focus on this input element. Focus, see? Now, I have created my input component and it also just returns an input field. Let's just see its code, and this is what it looks like. And this is the returning value. Now let me just copy this thing over here and put this here. Let's just save it. Now let's just open the console. See, I'm getting this warning like function components cannot be given refs. Attempts to access this ref will fail. Did you mean react.forwardRef? Well, this means that we should be using something else also, because right now this reference is actually not getting forwarded to this component. Like we are not able to access this my input component or the DOM elements of this my input component using this reference. But we need to use something else also. But first, let me show you what will happen if I try to focus on this input field when this my input field is actually being used. Focus. See, I'm just getting an error. Let's just remove it, remove this console, and let me just fix this thing using this forwardRef. Let's just do this and wrap this my input function inside this forwardRef. You can do this way, or you can just put this forwardRef here also and wrap this complete function with parentheses. That will also work, but just to save time, I'm doing this. This is also a way you can do it. Okay. Now this reference, this is actually I'm getting from here, this thing. Like if we pass this reference as props, like this is looking like props, right? Now if we pass it to the child component in the parent component, we have a separate access to this reference, separate from all the props that we get, right? So this is all the props that we are getting from here, like this value, on change, style. We can access all those things using this props, and this reference, it has a separate access value inside this child component. Right now, nothing will work. So to fix it, I will have to pass this reference like this. Like I will have to pass this ref over here. Or I can just do it or change it to reference. And let's just do this. So if I just click on this focus, we will be able to focus on this input element and change the value also. Now, my main motive to show you what this forwardRef is, forwardRef and this useImperativeHandle hook, they both are used simultaneously. We cannot use ImperativeHandle without this forwardRef. So let me just uncomment these things, and you can see I have already defined some methods, focus method and scroll into view method. Let me just explain all this thing. So this useImperativeHandle hook, it takes 3 parameters or arguments here. The first one is the reference that we are getting from this parent component into this child component, and these both should be same. Like these both should have same names. And second parameter is a function that we are making. Now this function actually helps us to create customized methods for this specific reference. This reference. The third parameter is a dependency array. We have learned about the dependency array, right? In the use effect hook, in use layout effect hook, and also in use callback hook also. Let me just show you what will happen right now. Like this ref is getting referenced using this reference variable. And if I click on this focus, this input element should get focused. Okay, all right. This useImperativeHandle is right now not commented. I have to comment this, and then we can just use this focus button. Focus. See, this is getting focused. Now, if I uncomment this thing, now things start to change. because when I'm passing this reference hook over here, this useImperativeHandle is getting access to the same reference. Okay, like this one. Here we can define special functions or method separately for just this input field or just this reference. Like wherever this reference will be used for that particular DOM element, like we generally use this reference for DOM elements, right? So wherever this reference ref will be used for that particular HTML element, we can define some methods, some particular methods, so that we can give a controlled access to this parent component on this child component. So let me just go over here, and right now you can see that if this my input was just a regular input HTML element, see the color changed. Right now this focus, like input ref.current.focus, will work because all the input fields, like all the HTML input fields, have their own method called focus. This works. Now, if I change this to my input and change this focus to focus method, see, this focus method is a custom method that I have created over here. Let's just save it and save this also. And now if I click on this button, we will not see any error and this input field will get focused. Click. So we cannot use this direct reference over here. We first have to create a separate reference and then use it to reference the element that you want to use. And you'll be like, Rajiv, I guess you're not seeing something. Like here you have defined this focus method only for this input ref. Yeah, you're right. But what if I change this to reference and put that reference over here and change this to reference again, and yeah, everything's fine. Okay, let's just check now also. Focus, you can see reference.current focus is not a function. Well, why? So the reason why we are not using this direct reference is because we can only put one reference as this reference inside there. But we are passing a reference inside a component, and a component might have many elements, right? Like this child component can have multiple elements inside it. It's not possible for one component to have only one single element, right? We don't use components for that purpose. So let me just create one more element, and for this specific element I'll have to create one more reference, and let's just put it inside here. And we'll have to wrap this thing in. Now let me just create one more focus button so that everything gets easier for us to understand. And let me just create a method, focus1 method, and focus2 method, and change this to like, and do some other things. Right now we are only passing only one ref inside this component, child component, and here we're actually using two different methods for two different buttons for two different input fields rendered by this myInput component. That's why we don't use this reference directly inside our ref value. Instead, we create different refs for different elements we want to reference, and then this useImperativeHandle functions upon those references. That's why this useImperativeHandle is taking this reference, and so that's why I mentioned these both should be same. So now I guess you might have understood why we are not using this reference directly inside this ref value, right? Now, by showing you the reason why we don't use this reference, I showed you that we are using custom methods for different elements. Well, I wanted to show you this custom methods later on, but I happen to show you this custom methods for different refs while explaining this reference thing, what I just explained to you guys. Now, in my experience, I have never used this useImperativeHandle ever. Like, I have developed many React apps, many websites. I have never used this hook, but you should know about this hook because who knows when you might have to use this useImperativeHandle hook in your React app, and then you'll be just wandering over here and there on Stack Overflow, ChatGPT, YouTube. Well, thanks for watching. And since this hook will not be used a lot in your developing life, you can just check out this video, which will definitely be used in your daily life.